Chapter 755. Just as she was saying that, a gentleman's voice was heard from behind, the World Mercenary Group. "You don't mind joining us, right?" Not waiting for Yi Qing Luo and the others to respond, another glib voice was heard, me too, it's on the way." Following that, there was a lady's sweet voice, "Since the few group leaders are going together, you don't mind if I'm alone, right?" Yi Qing Luo and the rest were at the back of the group, and when they stopped and turned their heads, they saw two men and a lady walking towards them in quick steps. One of the men was dressed in a dark green long robe and looked to be around 25 to 26 years old. He looked like a well-behaved and fair young master. Yi Qing Luo had never liked this type of man. An overly refined and well-behaved man would instead look pretentious. Like Si Yanmu, like Ling Fengying. These people were people who could stab a knife into your heart with a gentle smile. Looking at the man's side, it was a tall and burly man in a black magua. He had a full beard and she couldn't tell his age. Beside the two men was a young lady dressed in a peach-colored short skirt. She was about 15 to 16 years old, and that peach-colored short skirt made the young lady look like a peach blossom. The young lady's dressing was extremely simple. Her peach-colored short skirt was clean and nimble, which was convenient for movement. Her hip-length long hair was tied up by a peach-colored hairband. It was slightly messy, but it showed off the young lady's youthful vivacity. The only ornament on her was the peach-colored gauze band on her wrist. These three people, weren't they the group leaders of those three mercenary groups? These three people. What were they trying to do? Yi Qing Luo and the rest stopped in their tracks as they waited for the three of them to walk over. "I'm Yan Zhan, the group leader of Invincible Mercenary Group, Bronze Plate Mercenary Group." The man in the dark green long robe introduced himself first. That tall and burly man touched his full beard as he laughed loudly, "Me. I'm called Shen Qin. This name is too artistic and doesn't suit my image. Everyone calls me Big Beard. Just call me that. I'm not some group leader, just the executive group leader of the Blood Demon Mercenary Group. A Silver Plate Mercenary Group." The woman's lively eyes looked at Yi Qing Luo for some time and gave an adorable smile. "Student Yi, my name is Tao Tao. You can call me Tao Zi. I'm the group leader of Peach Blossom 3000 Mercenary Group. Our group are all women." "Classmate." Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes in astonishment. Peach grabbed the corner of her clothes, her curved eyebrows looked very cute. "Student Yi may not know me, I'm also a student of the Heavenly Academy, in the same class as Student Yi Fengyu. I often hear Student Yi Fengyu mention you. Low Profound Class 2 students?" Yi Qing Luo's peripheral vision glanced at the group of mercenaries in front as her brows creased slightly. Should she consider giving these young servants some ways to disguise themselves? The world was such a small place, one could always run into one after another. If they recognized that they were students from the devil class, it would be troublesome. "Classmate Yi, I admire you very much. My wish is to be like you, to become a strong person, to not be afraid of anything, and to always be full of hope." After saying that, Peach shyly curled up her fingers. Yi Qing Luo could tell that this lady's every word came from the bottom of her heart. A person's eyes cannot deceive a person's heart. Peach's eyes were limpid and clean. Her eyes were filled with adoration and love for Qin Mu. Yi Qing Luo laughed softly. "So it's little Yu's classmate. Little Yu is not very sensible. If he commits any mistakes in the class, you can tell me any time." Peach nodded her head vigorously, her brows raised in joy. "Yes, my goddess." "Wait, goddess." Chapter 756. Student Yi Fengyu likes you as his sister very much. Every time he mentioned you, his brows would dance and he would be in high spirits, even his eyes would light up. As though they had found a common topic, Peach's mouth couldn't stop as she squeezed the two people behind her. Yen Zhan and bearded man totally had no chance to step forward. They specially came over, especially to build a relationship with Yiqing Luo. After all, this the world mercenary group, although they looked like a bunch of young men and young ladies, but their ability was there, and they even had the young patriarch of the mercenary association. Who could deny their influence in the mercenary world? But this 3,000 Peach Blossom mercenary group leader had been forcefully holding onto Yiqing Luo's arm, so they didn't even have a chance to interrupt. Yen Zhan's gentle brows revealed some impatience. Bearded man wasn't a patient person. They had already walked for 100 miles and Peach Blossom group leader was still holding onto Yiqing Luo, chatting about everything under the heavens. He and Yen Zhan were following behind, feeling extremely awkward. How could bearded man endure it? He directly walked up and grabbed Peach's arm, casually pushing her back. We're all here to befriend the world group, can't you give me a chance to speak? Bearded man was a typical muscular man. His figure was tall and sturdy. This push of his was very little to him, but if it was placed on a delicate young lady, how could Peach maintain her balance? Her feet were unsteady as she fell downwards. Be careful. An anxious voice was heard and immediately, Peach's petite body was caught in a wide embrace. Peach was slightly stunned as she was enclosed in that warm embrace, which was extremely hard. His body didn't have the usual sweaty stench of an ordinary man. But it was fresh and clean, an extremely soothing smell. Peach raised her head as her long and thick lashes fluttered, meeting with a pair of resplendent starry eyes, so dazzling that she felt a little dizzy. From this angle, against the light, the man who was hugging her had a layer of hazy radiance on his features. This face, although it wasn't outstanding and wasn't considered handsome or good-looking, but it had a unique charm, especially that pair of eyes, which could tug at one's heartstrings. Miss Tao, what's the matter with you? Are you all right? Xiao Jin saw that she didn't say a word and assumed that she was frightened by bearded man's rough actions, as he released her hand. Following that, he walked in front of bearded man and tugged his collar. How can you lay your hands on such a delicate beauty? Are you still a man? Bearded man's face instantly turned red. I just gave her a light push. Who asked that last to monopolize your group leader? We're here to make friends, not to be followers. No, it's fine. Peach blushed and moved away from Xiao Jin's side. She actually. Such an ordinary-looking man. Moreover, he was such an ordinary-looking man. Seeing him reprimand the bearded man for her sake, Taozi blushed even more. She pursed her lips shyly and said, I'm fine. Thank you for saving me. Xiao Jin let go of Big Beard and clapped his hands. When he turned to look at Peach, he revealed a gentle smile. No, Miss Tao, you don't have to thank him. That bastard Jin's wish is to be a hero and save the beauty. You fulfilled his wish, so he should thank you. A clear voice directly interrupted Xiao Jin's words. Yen Xiaoyi stepped forward with a cold smile on her face. She reached out and grabbed Xiao Jin's arm. Chapter 757. Slut Jin, get lost. Yen Xiaoyi's expression changed immediately. She lifted her leg and kicked him away, rushing towards the brothers in front. No matter how Xiao Jin shouted, Yen Xiaoyi did not turn back. He only stopped when he reached Xiao Bo's side. Seeing Yen Xiaoyi ignoring him and talking to Xiao Bo about something, Xiao Jin scratched his head. How strange. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a helpless smile as she shook her head. Jin Z, let me give you 2 words. What? You deserve it. Why do I deserve it? Xiao Jin's eyes widened as he grumbled indignantly. I didn't do anything to her. I didn't provoke her. How did I? Before she could finish her words, Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered with the teasing Xiao Jin as she shifted her vision towards Yen Zhan and bearded man. You want to befriend group leader. That's right, we want to make friends with you. The bearded man nodded profusely, but as soon as he finished speaking, he suddenly felt that something was amiss. Yan Zhan frowned. Aren't you the leader of the World Mercenary Group? I'm not. Yiqing Luo pointed at Long Yunzhan. Group leader is over there. Long Yunzhan raised his expressionless face and looked over coldly. Yan Zhan and the bearded man shivered and laughed dryly. Oh my God, little kids nowadays have such a strong aura. With one look, one could tell that he wasn't someone who was easy to get along with. Ever since the World Mercenary Group stepped into the marketplace, they had never seen the World Group leader speak a single word. Those mercenary youngsters also listened to Yiqing Luo's commands. It was no wonder that they mistook their leader for someone else. Our Blood Fiend Mercenary Group wishes to befriend the World Group. It doesn't matter who the leader is. What's important is that we, the Blood Fiends, admire your team. Big Beard shouted loudly. That's right. Yan Zhan smiled warmly. You're all so young, yet you're able to establish your own team and develop it so rapidly. You're indeed young heroes. There's no need to be so courteous. Time is of the essence, so let's hurry over to the Mercenary Association first. If we're late, we won't be able to take part in the activity. Yiqing Luo smiled as she changed the topic. It was good to have another friend. However, they were also clear about what kind of friends they should make and what kind of friends they shouldn't. For example, Yan Zhan. He looked cultured and refined, and his speech was also very refined. But from his gaze and the occasional expressions of emotions, Yiqing Luo was able to determine that this person called Yan Zhan was arrogant, conceited, and extremely ambitious. Rather than saying that he wanted to make friends with the World Group, it would be better to say that he wanted to use the World Group to complete a certain objective of his. To be friends with this kind of person, you must always be able to protect his interests. Otherwise, once they lost their value, Yan Zhan might very well sell them out in exchange for greater benefits. As for the other bearded man, he was a straightforward person and didn't have a big heart. However, he was too inflexible, and he had an extraordinary dedication and passion for his mercenary team. Of course, this was not to say that this was bad. Yiqing Luo was the same, she had the same persistence and passion towards her own team. They all had the attitude of, no matter what's right or wrong, my brother is right. If this sort of shielding really hurt the other party's team, a second ago, they were still calling each other brothers, but in the next second, a knife could be placed on the other party's neck. Because of this, Yiqing Luo didn't intend to have too deep of a relationship with these two people. After all, the youths in her team had never stepped foot in the outside world and were too naive. Chapter 758. Miss Yi, are you going to take part in the random mission activities? Why don't we form a team? Yan Zhan sent out an invitation. Bearded man stroked his beard as he laughed loudly. Right, let's form a team. Let's 4 teams do it together, and after we take on the mission, we'll work together. We have sufficient manpower and our ability is right there, so there's no need to worry about drawing a mission that we can't complete. That's a good idea. Perhaps we can spare some time to take on the second random mission. Yan Zhan nodded his head in agreement. When Yiqing Luo heard that, her long and narrow eyes rose slightly as her peripheral vision swept past the both of them. Then which team should we start with? Yan Zhan and Bearded Man replied in unison, of course we'll start with me. Before they could finish their words, the both of them seemed to have realized something as they exchanged glances and lowered their eyelids awkwardly. After some time, Yan Zhan found the right words. What I mean is, let's start with the most complicated mission. Anyway, we have a lot of people, so no matter how complicated the mission is, we'll be able to complete it in the shortest time. Bearded Man nodded his head repeatedly. But when the both of them raised their eyes and met Yiqing Luo's face, they instantly felt a chill down their spines. This peerlessly beautiful, dainty and adorable young lady had a faint smile hanging on her lips as her eyes were curved, narrow and enchanting. She looked so innocent and harmless. But inexplicably, it made the both of them feel a sense of trepidation. If I didn't remember wrongly, earlier young Master Shin mentioned that your Blood Demon Mercenaries group is a Silver Plate mercenary group. That means that your random mission is very likely to draw a complicated great experience mission or some other complicated rare mission. Yi Ching Luo's tone were gentle and slow, not at all rude. Bearded Man's expression stiffened slightly. Of course, the probability of a complicated grade mission is very low. But even if you draw a high-grade experience mission, it's very likely that with our 3 teams, we can only accompany you to fight for this mission. Standing on a bystander's point of view and lending a helping hand, it's not impossible. But I also have my team and my brothers. I can't possibly drag my own brothers to accompany you to do something impossible. Yan Zhan coughed a few times and hid the hostility in his eyes. He smiled gently and said, "Miss Yi is thoughtful." Peach snorted coldly and stepped forward, hooking Yi Ching Luo's arm. Her pretty face was full of sarcasm. "Stop it, all of you have been in the mercenary world for several years, why are you pretending to be a newbie?" "What do you mean?" Xiao Jin could tell that there was a hidden meaning in her words. He moved forward and asked in confusion. When Peach's gaze met Xiao Jin's, she shifted her gaze away in a somewhat flustered manner. Her cheeks were slightly red as she lowered her eyelashes and said, "The two of them want to join forces and trick you into doing random missions for their mercenary group." Looking at the Peach in this state, Yi Ching Luo's heart thumped hard. Her attention was completely not on the matter of Yan Zhan and the bearded man's deception. His thoughts drifted to the other side. Cough cough, could it be, Peach really fell in love with Xiao Jin at first sight? In this other world, strength was the most important factor, and appearance was the second factor. Would a woman fall in love with Xiao Jin at first sight? The world was too fantastical. One must know that Xiao Jin's looks were absolutely not good-looking. Especially in the world mercenary group which was filled with handsome men and beautiful women, that face of his seemed even more ordinary. Looking at Peach, her appearance was delicate and lovely, captivating even the birds and beasts, overshadowing the moon and flowers, and her character was quick-witted and adorable. Looking at Peach's dressing again, as well as the 200 over female mercenary group which she had established, her family background was absolutely not bad. Whatever type of man she wanted, it was just a matter of curling her fingers. Chapter 759. Ching Luo, Ching Luo. The voice beside her ears made Yi Ching Luo abruptly regain her senses. Her long lashes fluttered as her eyes regained their luster. "Earlier, what did you guys say? Did she miss something strange?" "Why?" Peach, Xiao Jin and Long Yun Zhan were staring at her without blinking. And Yan Zhan and bearded man's expressions were so ugly. "Ching Luo, at such a serious moment, how could you get lovesick and think of Di Tian?" Xiao Jin hooked Yi Ching Luo's shoulder as he teased her with an arc. "Think of what Dmo Xian." She was obviously thinking of him, Xiao Jin's luck with women. Since he dared to tease her. Regarding the possibility of Peach falling in love with him at first sight, she wouldn't tell him. Let's see how this fellow with no EQ would deal with the conflict between him and Yan Xiaoyi. Student Yi Ching Luo, I'm analyzing that the both of them want to make use of the World Mercenary Group's evidence. Peach stuck out her tongue at Yan Zhan and bearded man. "Let me explain to you the rules of random missions. The time limit for random missions is 3 days and the time limit for drawing the mission will end at midnight today." Saying that, Peach specially made a 3-day hand gesture. And the range of the random mission could possibly be in some corner of the West Continent or some dangerous place. Just the journey back and forth would take at least half a day or at least a day. We might not even be able to complete the first random mission on time, so don't even mention about how we still have time and can take on the second mission, etc. Such a ridiculous topic. Saying that, Peach gave a cold harumph as she looked at Yan Zhan in disdain. If I didn't guess wrongly, Group leader Yen used the same method to coax Bearded Man, and on seeing that our student Yiqing Luo is a newly established mercenary group and doesn't know the rules of random missions, he tried to coax her to help your mercenary group to complete the mission. Yen Zhan's refined face flushed red instantly. Bearded Man's eyes widened. He was indeed attracted by Yen Zhan's words and was prepared to work together with Yen Zhan's invincible mercenary group. Following that, the both of them saw the World Mercenary Group's magnificent feat in the marketplace. He thought that this group of young people who didn't know the rules would easily take the bait. He immediately followed them. He had not expected. Not only did Yen Zhan want to deceive the World Mercenary Group, he even wanted to deceive him. The Bearded Man's chest was filled with rage. The flames in his eyes danced as he glared fiercely at Yen Zhan. In the end, Yen Zhan was only the leader of a bronze plate mercenary group. Although the mercenary group had been around for almost 3 years, the reason why the mercenary group was able to develop to where it was now was entirely because of his brain, his cleverness, and his gentle and refined appearance. He was able to gain the trust of many people, and from there, they could make some small moves. But to this day, it was only a bronze plate mercenary group. Big Beardy was the executive leader of Silver Mercenary Group. He could not afford to offend them. In his panic, Yen Zhan pointed the spearhead at Peach. You are talking nonsense. If it's really as you said, then wouldn't you be following us to get close to Miss Yi and even trying to establish a relationship with Miss Yi? Wouldn't you be trying to make use of the World Mercenary Group? Peach rolled her eyes and her pretty face was full of pride. My Peach Blossom 3000 mercenary group doesn't do any fighting or killing. We are mainly responsible for gathering information. In other words, she had more or less figured out Yen Zhan's reputation and the hookups he had done in the past. Yen Zhan staggered a few steps back. He opened his mouth and wanted to refute something. Chapter 760. It's because I know what kind of person you are that I specially followed you over. I cannot let you deceive my goddess. Peach raised her head complacently as a smile flashed past her eyes, but I have to thank you. It's you who gave me the courage to speak to my goddess. Yiqing Luo, wait a minute, this goddess, what the hell was that? And this voice, this tone, this expression, what was going on? Yiqing Luo wailed in her heart, her sexual orientation was out. Right. Positive. Constant. No. Do. 100. Together. Amen. Let Peach fall in love with Qiao Jin at first sight, to see through his inner handsomeness. Peach's words made Yen Zhan's face turn ashen. His body tensed up as he stared fiercely at Peach, wishing that he could tear that mouth into several pieces. However, Peach remained unmoved. She was still smiling like a flower as she whispered something to Yiqing Luo. Yen Zhan's eyes were overflowing with viciousness as he clenched his fists tightly. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, the bearded man standing beside him suddenly punched his face. A bam was heard and Yen Zhan was unable to react in time as he fell onto the ground. Bearded man's physique was huge and definitely not just for show. When this punch landed, Yen Zhan's delicate little body was totally unable to withstand his devastation. Damn it! Yen Zhan! You even dare to lie to me. If I don't destroy your mercenary group today, I'm not called Bearded Man. Bearded Man was filled with rage as he pressed Yen Zhan onto the ground as he raised his fist and punched him again. Yiqing Luo and the others naturally weren't interested in these two men's fight. At this moment, Yiqing Luo's attention was attracted by Peach's find out news. To have one's own network of informants and to know all the news in the continent was an extremely important step to establish one's own force. For those large-scale mercenary groups, they would split out a portion of their forces to form a network of informants, specially to find out all sorts of news for the mercenary group. Yiqing Luo had naturally thought of establishing such an organization. She intended to wait for the world group to mature a little before discussing this matter. Today, after Peach mentioned it, she had an idea. Group leader. Executive group leader. The Invincible Guild and Blood Demon Guild were still waiting for their guild leader's response when they suddenly saw the two guild leaders fighting each other. He immediately rushed forward and pulled the leaders of both sides apart. Weren't they discussing the cooperation between the two mercenary groups not long ago? Why was it that after roping in the world group, the members of the world group left with that female group and these two group leaders started fighting instead? Raid the Invincible Guild. You even dare to deceive me. The bearded man was aggressive. Idiot. Don't fall for that woman's provocation. Yan Zhan's facial muscles were bruised, and blood was still seeping from the corner of his mouth. He couldn't hide the sarcasm on his face. Those two women are in cahoots with each other. They deliberately teamed up to make us lose the chance to participate in the random mission. You really fell for it and even hit me. Are you stupid? Being reprimanded, the bearded man was a little stunned. Blood Demon Guild's leader behind him creased his brows. What do you mean by this? If you really annihilate my invincible mercenary group today, the two women's plot will succeed. Yan Zhan heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that the two muscular and fierce-looking managers had fallen for his trap. However, the expression on his face and the angry tone of his voice remained unchanged. Chapter 761. The Mercenary Association has a rule that those mercenary groups who participate in the random assignment of missions are not allowed to have any conflicts with other mercenary groups or do anything that harms other mercenary groups, otherwise their participation rights will be revoked. Yan Zhan rubbed his chest, which was in pain from the beating, as he steadied himself with the help of his members. He pointed at the bearded man and scolded furiously, "If you really destroy Invincible, not only will my Invincible be destroyed, even the Blood Demon group which you have painstakingly built up till now will also be destroyed." Senior's words are indeed the truth. A woman's heart is the most vicious. Yan Zhan clenched his teeth tightly as the veins on his forehead popped out. The World Mercenary Group. Peach Blossom 3000 Mercenary Group. I, Yan Zhan, will be irreconcilable with them. Blood Demon Group's leader didn't understand what had happened earlier. Seeing the bearded man in a daze, he walked over to Yan Zhan guiltily and kept on apologizing. "Brother. It's my fault, I don't have any brains." Those two ladies' words made me believe them. "Brother, why don't you beat me up, beat me back?" "Forget it, you've been cheated by them." Yan Zhan's eyes sparkled, but his face was filled with helplessness as he patted his shoulder lightly. "You must learn to be more careful in future and learn more from your Blood Demon Group's leader." When Blood Demon Group's leader heard himself mentioned, he didn't know what was going on, but he had to pretend that he knew everything clearly as he put on a humble look and waved his hand. All right, all right. Luckily there's the intelligent leader Yen around, otherwise based on the bearded man's blockhead, he would definitely be cheated by those two ladies. The World Mercenary Group and Peach Blossom 3000 actually dared to play us like that. I, Yan Zhan, will definitely take revenge for this. Yan Zhan pretended to be infuriated as he clenched his fist and bellowed. The bearded man was fuming. Damn it. I hate being cheated the most. Just as the two of them were about to punish Yi Qing Luo with righteous indignation, a lady's sharp voice was heard from not too far away. I have a way to deal with the World Mercenary Group. I wonder if the both of you are willing to cooperate with me. The two mercenary groups' gazes turned towards that direction at the same time. They saw a group of about 60 to 70 mercenary group walking over. Those mercenary groups were dressed strangely and looked like ruffians. At a glance, one could tell that they were the kind of lowly mercenary groups. The leader of that mercenary group was a man and a woman. The woman was wearing a jade green dress and was extremely beautiful and dazzling. The man was wearing a dark robe and had his wounds simply bandaged. He covered his mouth and nose with one hand, as if he was in pain. Yan Zhan quickly cupped his hands and bowed to the two. 5th Mistress Shangguan, law enforcer. The other mercenaries quickly followed suit and saluted. Shangguan Liuli narrowed her eyes and her voice was filled with resentment. My mercenary group doesn't have the qualifications to participate in the event, so I can play some tricks and stop them from completing their mission. The law enforcement officer at the side also gritted his teeth and spat out words hatefully. Even if the mercenary guild wants to remove me from my position, they will need a period of time. What's more, the connections I've built over the years have long been set. The other mercenary groups will more or less give me face. What do you need us to do? Yan Zhan and the bearded man looked at each other, their eyes filled with ruthlessness. Shangguan Liuli narrowed her eyes and sneered, crush her. Let the world mercenary group become a joke. What should I do? Random mission. Shangguan Liuli lowered her head as her eyelashes fluttered and her fine long hair covered half of her face. Only the smile on the corners of her lips became increasingly gloomy. I've already asked for men from my family and informed the Yuchi family. No matter what mission the world group draws, I will make it so that they won't be able to return. The few of them exchanged glances and smiled as their eyes were filled with resentment towards the world group. No one discovered that person who lowered her head. Chapter 762. Mercenary Association. The usually spacious mercenary association was now crowded with people. All sorts of mercenary groups' uniforms were crowded together. And in front of the mercenary association's main hall to receive missions, there was a high stage which could accommodate 100 people. On top of the high stage, there was a huge crystal screen and on it, there were a few big words, random mission drawing area. A few people dressed in the mercenary association staff uniform were busy on the high stage. Below was already crowded with groups of mercenary groups and it was extremely crowded. There were quite a number of mercenary groups who were arranged by their group leaders to wait outside the mercenary association for the results. Yiqing Luo looked around and estimated that there were at least 200 over mercenary groups waiting for the random mission. Among them, there was no lack of silver plate mercenary groups. As for the gold plate mercenary groups, she didn't see a single one. Mo Han Shang saw Yiqing Luo looking around and explained, the gold plate mercenary group is the mercenary association's distinguished group, so naturally they enjoy the distinguished rights. Their random missions have already been drawn and they have all left the mercenary association to complete their missions. Yiqing Luo nodded her head in understanding. No matter where, outstanding people were able to enjoy special privileges. For example, Heavenly Academy's class of gods. For example, Mu brothers who could enter and leave the academy anytime and anywhere. For example, Mercenary Association's gold plate mercenary group. For example. Now, basking in Mo Han Shang's glory, their seats had long been arranged by Mo Han Shang. Right at the first row below the high stage, the best seat. Of course, Yiqing Luo didn't bring her group of 90 over people to squeeze here. Mo Han Shang had only prepared 6 seats. If there were too many, it would definitely cause others to gossip about it. Hence, the ones sitting at the front row were her, Mo Han Shang, Long Yun Zhan and the others, plus Xiao Bo was overwhelmed by favor to be able to sit at this seat. I'm not suitable, it's better to let Miss Mo Yuing in. He had brought his brothers to join the world group verbally. Although it had been half a month or so, but the actual day of joining and obtaining the world group's medal was today. This should be the second time Yiqing Luo met him. Why did Yiqing Luo trust him so much? Drawing random missions was an important matter. Even when he was in Blue Dragon Mercenary Group, he didn't have the chance to stand with Ji Tsangtian in the Mercenary Association to see Ji Tsangtian drawing random missions and discussing whether to accept this mission or not. But Yiqing Luo left her capable assistant Mo Yuing outside. Instead, they brought him, an outsider, in. And it was the best seat in the first row. This was a treatment he had never enjoyed before. If you're not suitable, then who is? Yi Qing Luo only smiled. Regarding the mercenary group's understanding, we are still too inexperienced. You are the senior, we still need your opinion on many matters. After saying that, she shifted her gaze and continued to observe the situation around her. His opinion. He was a mercenary who didn't even have the qualifications to participate in such a grand occasion. Could he really give his opinion? Zhao Bo sat on his seat and was feeling restless as he kept shooting his gaze towards Yi Qing Luo. As though sensing his gaze, Yi Qing Luo also looked over at him. After meeting his gaze, Yi Qing Luo revealed a sweet smile, as though she was consoling him not to be nervous, that she was here for everything. His heart inexplicably calmed down. She was clearly just a child, clearly, she was younger than him, why did he have such boldness? At this moment, Zhao Bo finally understood what he lacked in the Blue Dragon group. It was warmth. To Ji Tsang Tian, these mercenaries were merely chess pieces which he could make use of, or perhaps tools to fight for him to conquer the world. However, for Yi Qing Luo, she treated all the mercenaries as real people, a living human being. She would stand on the mercenary's standpoint, from a mercenary's point of view, considering the feeling of being a mercenary. Very warm. Chapter 763. At around 9 or 10 o'clock, 3 old men dressed in white robes walked onto the stage. They looked like they were immortals. Yi Qing Luo couldn't understand. Why did these authoritative elders like to wear a white robe with fluttering sleeves and white long hair? Could it be just to look like an immortal? Just to show their inner qualities? Those 3 elderly men had badges which represented the mercenary guild's elders on their chests. All the mercenary group stood up and bowed towards the 3 elderly men. After the 3 elderly men took their seats, they started to ring the bell one after another. After the time it took for half an incense stick to burn, everyone felt their ears were buzzing before they stopped. Following that, one of the elderly men stood up and used his profound qi to amplify his voice as it slowly rippled in the air. After the unchanging opening speech, they slowly entered the main topic. Another elder stood up and started to prepare for the random mission to be released. He walked to the front of the stage and with a flip of his sleeves, a pile of huge wooden tokens hung on his wrist. Those wooden tokens were about the size of 2 fingers and were densely packed together. There were at least 200 over pieces. The elder's vision swept downwards. These are the number tokens for the random mission. Each mercenary group can only take 1 piece of number token. If you take more, your participation rights will be revoked on the spot. So, I'll give you to the count of 10 to discuss and send someone out to take the number token. His voice paused and countless of mercenary guild staff around shouted in unison, 1, 2, 3. 200 over mercenary groups speedily pushed out their trusted people or personally went up. Yi Qing Luo directly let Zhao Bo go up. The moment the 10th countdown ended, the elder in front of the stage flipped his sleeves forcefully. The 200 over number tokens in his hands were like scattered flowers, scattering towards the mercenary group's positions below. Instantly, numerous mercenary groups jumped up and stretched out their hands to grab a piece of number token and return to their own group's area. In just a moment, all the wooden tokens were snatched up. Zhao Bo returned to his seat and passed the number token to Long Yunzhan. Yi Qing Luo took a glance at the back of the number was hilarious, number 238. Zhao Bo lowered his head in guilt. I'm sorry, what's there to be sorry about? The mission is random. It doesn't matter if you draw it early or late, the mission is still random. There's no difference. Yi Qing Luo disagreed. But, there are no buts or buts. With 200 teams, we'll only be able to reach midnight at most. In other words, it would be 1 or 2 in the afternoon. We just need to conserve our energy and rest well. Even if these mercenary groups were the first to be drawn, they would still have to sit here and wait for the random missions to be released before they could move together. This was also to ensure that everyone had the same starting point. So to Yi Qing Luo, there was no difference whether the number plate was at the front or the back. In the middle of the mercenary workshop, a beautiful woman gently pulled the hand of the person beside her. She frowned slightly. Just now, I think I saw Xiao Bo. The man who was holding the number plate and cursing suddenly raised his head and furrowed his brows. That traitor Xiao Bo is here too. Great. Very good. After betraying the Blue Dragon mercenary group, he still dares to appear at this kind of place. The woman gave a light humph. I asked you to watch over him, but you didn't believe me. You even allowed Xiao Bo to bring so many members away, causing quite a number of losses. The man's eyes were filled with viciousness. After the mission is drawn, I'll make him pay for all the losses. Chapter 764. Yi Qing Luo had been observing the steps of drawing the mission. She roughly understood the main process. The mercenary group sent out a representative as he walked up the stage. In front of the crystal screen, which was flowing with water, he placed his number plate and his mercenary group badge on the screen, and a mission scroll would randomly pop out. The mission contents in the scroll, the mercenary group could choose to announce it or choose to keep it a secret. But after the mercenary group drew the mission, the crystal screen would display the mission's grade and difficulty, as well as the mercenary group's honor points. Other mercenary groups could also guess what kind of mission this mercenary group had taken on based on the grade and difficulty. The speed of selecting the mission was rather fast. Among them, Yi Qing Luo saw a familiar mercenary group. That was the Silver Plate mercenary group which Leng Fenghua hired when she was brought to the Magic Beast Forest by Dmo Xian. If she didn't remember wrongly, that group leader was called Xia Hoji. The last time she came into contact, this mercenary group's overall ability was not bad. Under the leader's leadership, the members were orderly and their reaction was not bad. Towards Xia Hoji, she rather admired him. She could consider getting in touch with him. If they could become allies, that would be for the best. Of course, the prerequisite was that Xia Hoji had taken a liking to the world group before she could consider the future matters. Yi Qing Luo wasn't narcissistic to the point of thinking that all the mercenary groups wanted to climb up with the world group. Let's not talk about whether there was any relationship with the world group. The development of the world group till now had only been established for a month. In terms of ability or experience, they couldn't be compared to those veteran mercenary groups. Approximately 4 hours later, Yi Qing Luo was already drowsy when she finally reached the number plate after 200. Coincidentally, the two mercenary groups who had a conflict with Yi Qing Luo and the rest were both ranked after 200. Peach first went up to draw a mission and drew a middle-grade experience point mission. It wasn't considered too difficult and the reward was 20 points of mercenary group honor points. Double reward was 40 points. Peach naturally chose to accept this mission. Not long later, Bearded Man went up and drew a high-grade experience point mission. The reward was 50 points of mercenary group honor points. To the Blood Demon mercenary group, this mission was neither difficult nor easy. After getting the group leader's indication, Bearded Man took the scroll and went down the stage. Then, Yan Zhan stepped onto the stage. He didn't go through the process of drawing missions directly. Instead, he stood in front of the crystal screen and looked at the mercenary groups below. He smiled warmly and said, "Everyone has waited for such a long time, so you must be a little tired. If I may be so bold, I will bring you a little episode to refresh your spirits." Yan Zhan's voice slowly spread in the air along with his qi. The mercenary groups below were already impatient and annoyed from the wait. They only hoped to finish the drawing immediately and listen to the bullshit of the elders of the mercenary union so that they could complete their missions immediately. Now that Yan Zhan had appeared, what kind of interlude would he bring? They didn't have the leisure to do that. Other than a few bored mercenary groups raising their arms in agreement, most of the mercenary groups looked impatient, urging Yan Zhan to finish the task and get off the stage. What is he trying to do? Qiao Jin suddenly tightened his grip on the coin dart and frowned. Yan Zhan was definitely not a magnanimous person. Their instincts told them that Yan Zhan's episode was probably related to them. Yiqing Luo raised her brows as she looked at the man who was still smiling warmly on the stage. I'm afraid he wants to slap our faces. Chapter 765. Before Yiqing Luo could reply, she heard a scornful sneer coming from the other side of Qiao Jin. That's right, that Miss Tao of yours has exposed this hypocrite's real face, and this hypocrite wants to slap that Miss Tao of yours on the face. Immediately following that voice laughed disdainfully. Slut Jean, in order to protect that Miss Tao of yours beautiful face, you'd better stick your face over obediently and let that hypocrite Yan Zhan hit you. Qiao Jin's brows creased tightly as he threw the gold coin dart onto the table with a pa sound. Yan Xiao Yi, you're very strange today. Have I offended you? Is there any meaning in targeting me with every single word? Yan Xiaoyi's beautiful eyes stared straight at Qiao Jin as her gaze was chilly like frost. She opened her mouth and was about to speak. But she heard Qiao Jin continuing, even if I've offended you, Miss Tao hasn't offended you, right? Today is the first time we've met Miss Tao, and every single word you've said is targeting Miss Tao, ruining Miss Tao's reputation. Are you sick? All the words were stuck in her throat. Yan Xiaoyi's expression was steely green as she clenched her fists tightly. After some time, she bore with her anger as her red lips curled into a self-deprecating arc. I'm indeed sick. Saying that, she shifted her gaze away as she stared at the stage, not saying a single word. Qiao Jin was stunned. If it was usual times, if he scolded Yan Xiaoyi, the consequence would be his head exploding. But Yan Xiaoyi had no reaction and even admitted that she was sick. She couldn't really be angry, right? Qiao Jin's arrogance instantly disappeared as that serious and reasonable expression collapsed. Xiaoyi. All right, I'm the one who's sick, I'm in the wrong, all right. His tone softened, but Yan Xiaoyi's gaze was fixed on the stage as she ignored him. My dear grandaunt, I'm in the wrong. I shouldn't have scolded you. You hit me. Hit me all right. At this moment, Qiao Jin was completely flustered. He and Yan Xiaoyi had long become a habit of fooling around. No matter how overboard his words were or how out of line he was, Yan Xiaoyi would always use the same attitude to reply him. But Yan Xiaoyi actually ignored him. Grandaunt. Jin Zi. Yiqing Luo coughed lightly as she suppressed her voice. Everyone is looking at you, your matters. After we leave the mercenary association, we can slowly talk about it, all right? Yan Zhan had originally been on the stage, and he had said an interlude to liven things up, causing countless mercenary groups to react. When Qiao Jin slammed the coin darts on the table, it immediately attracted the attention of the mercenary groups. Immediately, everyone's gaze focused on Qiao Jin. Fortunately, their voices weren't loud, so other than the mercenary groups at the back, no one else could hear their conversation. Otherwise, it would be extremely embarrassing. Qiao Jin's complexion alternated between green, white, and finally completely red. The mercenary corps below the high platform suddenly laughed out loud. This was a real refreshing interlude. Yan Zhan stood on the high platform, his expression not much better. When he specifically drew a mission, it attracted everyone's attention. Instead, it allowed the world group to occupy the sights of the other mercenary groups. Why was this the world group always going against him? The more he thought about it, the more resentment he felt towards the world group. He gritted his teeth and clenched his fists tightly, but maintained a cultured and refined look on his face as he cleared his throat and raised his voice. I believe everyone has heard of the World Mercenary Group's name. A mercenary group established by a group of 15 to 16-year-old young lads, and on the next day, it was promoted from an ordinary mercenary group to a bronze plate mercenary group. Chapter 766. The World Mercenary Group. The middle and lower class mercenary groups in the mercenary world had basically all heard of it. To be able to establish a mercenary group for the second time and directly upgrade to a bronze plate, in the entire mercenary association's history, there was only one heaven-defying existence, the World Mercenary Group. If it was said that before this the World Group was established, it had already nurtured numerous high-level cultivators, and had abundant financial support, as well as a strong backing. On the second day of establishment, if they were able to upgrade to a bronze plate, they wouldn't feel surprised. But the World Mercenary Group had 60 over members, and although they were all from the Imperial Palace, but everyone's average age was 15 years old and the oldest was just 18 years old. No matter how powerful they were, they absolutely couldn't be considered as high-level cultivators, right? Financial support. According to what the Yuchi family said, the World Mercenary Group's headquarters was in a huge mansion in a corner of Three Springs City, which looked extremely old. The only commendable thing about that mansion was that the security measures were done extremely well. Other than the World Group's members, no outsiders were able to enter. But this showed even more that these youngsters weren't willing to let others see their old and dilapidated mansion as a joke. Talking about the strong background backing. This Yiqing Luo was the young matriarch of Three Springs sect, but Three Springs sect had been going downhill in recent years. Moreover, Yiqing Luo wasn't favored in Three Springs sect. Especially with the recent waves of scandals in Three Springs sect, it had long caused Three Springs sect's reputation to hit rock bottom. The biggest backing was probably the Overlord. But other than giving Yiqing Luo a wave of young men and young ladies from the Imperial Palace, the Overlord hadn't taken any action to help the World Group. The more they thought, the more lost the mercenary groups felt. These youngsters were so outstanding at such a young age. If they were allowed to develop, wouldn't they be able to crush them in minutes? Since ancient times, heroes are born from the youngsters. I, Yen, have long admired the World Mercenary Group. Taking this opportunity, I, Yen, represent my invincible group to issue a challenge to the World Mercenary Group. Yen Zhan saw that his words had already attracted the attention of those mercenary groups as the smile on his lips grew even wider. His vision shot towards Yiqing Luo, who was seated at the first row. The mercenary groups below instantly went into an uproar. Challenge the World Group. As an old mercenary group, no matter how dissatisfied they were with the World Group, no one dared to find trouble for them in the open, right? What do you want to challenge the World Mercenary Group for? The elder, who was standing by the side of the crystal screen, received Imo Han Shang's signal and took a step forward, standing in front of Yen Zhan, as he asked in a deep voice. Yen Zhan revealed a confident smile. Let's take advantage of this random mission. The first mercenary group to complete the mission will be the winner. He then looked towards Long Yun Zhan. For the sake of fairness, the world group has a total of 98 people. Invincible Battles, will also send 98 people to participate in the random mission. Challenging in front of so many mercenary groups. Actually, to the world group, this challenge was something they could only choose to accept. If he didn't accept this challenge, he would probably become a laughingstock in the mercenary world. Accepting and winning, the world group was once again famous in the mercenary world. As a newly established mercenary group, it was only natural for them to lose to an old mercenary group. At this time, the other mercenary groups did not feel so strongly about Invincible anymore. 98 people against 98 people. It was considered fair. The world group leader, what do you think? Yen Zhan's smile deepened. Long Yun Zhan's face was icy cold. That handsome face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost which repelled people 1,000 miles away. His azure blue eyes were like lake water, as ripples appeared. Chapter 767. In other words, he, Yen Zhan, and the Invincible Mercenary Group, were nothing in his eyes. On what basis was he, Yan Zhan, qualified? Crazy. How arrogant. It was simply arrogant and flamboyant. However, this kind of arrogance was something that no one could dislike. Looking at Long Yunzhan's expressionless and extraordinarily handsome face, his expression was still indifferent, as if his words were following his heart. Yan Zhan's face stiffened and his smile froze on his face. That damned the world group. His ability to humiliate others was indeed one set after another. Standing on the high platform, he could clearly see the expressions on everyone's faces. Everyone in the mercenary corps looked at him with a mocking gaze. It was as if they were treating him like a clown. Yan Zhan was so angry that his entire body was trembling. However, due to his image in the eyes of outsiders, he was famous for his elegant demeanor and elegance. No matter how furious he was, he had to maintain a gentle expression on his face. He glared at the blood demon mercenary corps from the corner of his eyes. Bearded man then regained his senses as he swiftly stood up and spoke in a loud and clear voice. Since that's the case, adding my blood demon mercenaries group to participate in the challenge, does the world group leader feel that we have the qualifications now? Qiao Jin's brows furrowed tightly. Didn't Miss Tao already expose Yan Zhan's true colors? Why is the Gore Fiend group joining in the fun? Yan Xiaoyi snorted, your Miss Tao's eloquence has failed. Qiao Jin subconsciously wanted to retort, but when he thought of Yan Xiaoyi's cold violence towards him earlier, he immediately shut his mouth. Yes, my great aunt. Humph. Towards Qiao Jin's display of weakness, our proud Yan Xiaoyi didn't appreciate it in the slightest. Yiqing Luo lazily leaned back on the chair, her long eyelashes fluttered, her pink lips curved, clear and shallow. There is a type of person who mingles in the pugilistic world, relying on his mouth. Her gaze fell on Yan Zhan. Yan Zhan's mouth can even bring the dead back to life. A brainless executive commander like Shen Chen would naturally be easily fooled by Yan Zhan. They looked at each other in dismay. The other mercenary groups were boiling with excitement. If Yan Zhan had said that he wanted to create a small interlude to refresh himself, they would not have been interested. But now, their interest could not be any greater. The Blood Demon mercenary group was an old mercenary group with a good reputation in the inner realm. It was a silver mercenary group. He actually participated in this challenge as well. Should it be said that the world mercenary group was too eye-catching, attracting the attention of many large mercenary groups. They should be wiping their cold sweat for the world mercenary group. They had become the target of the large mercenary groups. The Blood Demon mercenary group is a silver mercenary group. The difficulty of their missions is higher than yours. Yan Zhan had instructed Big Beard to memorize these words, so he was able to recite them smoothly. Since I am participating in the challenge, the Blood Demon mercenary corps will do the same. We will only send 98 people to participate in the challenge. Even the Silver Plate mercenary group had stood out, and if the world group didn't accept it, then they would really become the laughing stock of the mercenary world. Long Yunzhan's brows furrowed slightly as ripples appeared in his azure eyes, and he seemed slightly impatient. Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi clenched their fists tightly, their faces filled with rage. Zhao Bo also couldn't sit still as he kept shooting his gaze towards Yiqing Luo and Long Yunzhan's direction, wanting to open his mouth to analyze the current situation. But on seeing Long Yunzhan's gloomy cold gaze, all his words were stuck in his throat. Chapter 768. Long Yunzhan shook his head faintly as his eyes squinted, staring intently at the stage where Yan Zhan's expression had already reverted back to a complacent look. The arc on the corners of his eyes turned chilly. Why? Student Yiqing Luo, isn't your the world mercenary group very powerful? Aren't you relying on the fact that you have the support of the Overlord and are especially arrogant? A sharp voice was heard from the crowd. Shangguan Liuli, who was dressed in a jade-green long dress, stood at the corner of the mercenary association with her arms crossed as she leaned against the wall. Her face was filled with cold ridicule, filled with contempt and disdain towards the world group. Fifth Miss Shangguan, I heard that this Miss Yi is a student from Devil class, that waste class in Heavenly Academy. How powerful can the group she leads be? Besides Shangguan Liuli, eldest Xiong's group of brothers chimed in one after another. How could these mediocre mercenary groups possibly know about Heavenly Academy's matters? The answer was self-evident as to who taught them to say these words. Damn it, earlier in the marketplace, they were so arrogant and despotic, even daring to beat up the law enforcers. Now on seeing Invincible Group and Blood Demon Group's challenge, this bunch of waste are terrified. Pooey, a bunch of useless fellows, still dare to say that Leader Yen isn't qualified to challenge you. I'm telling you, you bunch of waste, totally have no right to compete with Leader Yen. To put it bluntly, these mercenaries in the lower levels of the market were just hooligans. Under Shangguan Liuli's instigation, all of them started to hurl insults which were extremely unpleasant to hear. All sorts of unbearable vulgarity started to spew out from their mouths. Shangguan Liuli covered her mouth as she giggled. Don't say that, at least they are disciples from the Imperial Palace. The surrounding mercenary groups could hear the hidden meaning in Shangguan Liuli's words. They couldn't help but feel indignant for the overlord. The overlord had chosen 10 over-disciples from the Imperial Palace out of goodwill to help Yiqing Luo establish a mercenary group. Yiqing Luo was from Heavenly Academy's waste class, Devil class's student. No matter how strong Yiqing Luo's ability was, being allocated to Devil class meant that the Academy had deemed Yiqing Luo as a waste. A waste had led the Overlord's Imperial Palace's disciple to become waste. These mercenary groups didn't know much about the Academy's affairs. Naturally, he didn't understand how Yiqing Luo broke the Heavenly Academy's record and so on to prove her ability. Yiqing Luo naturally understood the deep meaning behind Shangguan Liuli's words. The corners of her mouth curled into a cold arc. She narrowed her eyes and stared at Shangguan Liuli with a faint smile. It had only been a few days since they last met, but Shangguan Liuli seemed to have become much smarter. He actually knew how to use the Emperor Palace's disciples to suppress her. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laugh out. He didn't know if Shangguan Liuli's mind suddenly became sober after the torture. Or was there someone guiding him from the shadows? However, right now, Yiqing Luo had to admit that Shangguan Liuli's move was extremely ingenious. Of course, even if Shangguan Liuli didn't use Dmo Xian or the Imperial Palace to ridicule her, she would still accept this challenge. Regardless of what Shangguan Liuli was plotting to unite Invincible and Blood Fiend mercenary groups, it didn't matter. To the World Mercenary Group, this was a pretty good challenge. Since Blood Fiend Mercenary Group and Invincible Mercenary Group have already appeared, I, a small group like the World, have no choice but to comply. An icy cold voice was heard, clear and deep. Chapter 769. The coldness on Long Yunzhan's face had already faded away as his brows were filled with unhappiness. Now, are you satisfied? Shangguan Liuli was pierced by his gaze as her entire body turned stiff as she stood dazed on the spot. The hooting bearded man and that complacent Yan Zhan were also stunned. What was he trying to pull off? Why did the World Group's group leader display such a helpless look? This wasn't their misconception. Those melon spectating mercenary groups saw Long Yunzhan, who had been maintaining his cold and aloof state, revealing such an expression and hearing the anger hidden in his words. Those melon spectating mercenary groups who were standing on the Blood Demon Group's side earlier, now stood on Long Yunzhan's side. Yiqing Luo was about to slap the table and burst out laughing as she couldn't help but gave Long Yunzhan a thumbs up. Didn't Yan Zhan want to join forces with Bearded Man to use the fearsome gossip to force the World Group into their trap? Now, Long Yunzhan was giving them a taste of their own medicine. Long Yunzhan's intention was, I agreed to it because you forced me. You old groups can't bear to see the newly established group being the center of attention and jealous of our new group. Your old groups can't tolerate a new group with potential. Many mercenary groups at the scene had this kind of mentality. But on the surface, they still displayed the attitude of a senior, encouraging the new group, admiring the new group with potential, etc. Right now, Invincible and Blood Demon group were obviously overbearing, wanting to destroy the world mercenary group with potential. I won't waste everyone's time. Blood Demon group and the world group's mission will be left at the end to draw. Saying that, Yen Zhan escaped down the stage. The elder received Mo Han Shang's hint and didn't say anything as he continued to read the numbers at the back. Perhaps these mercenary groups wanted to see what kind of mission these 3 mercenary groups who had participated in the challenge would draw. The speed of drawing random missions was extremely fast. But within the time it took to burn an incense stick, the entire random mission activity was only left with these 3 mercenary groups. Yiqing Luo's vision shot towards Xiao Bo's direction. Xiao Bo understood her meaning as he immediately stood up and walked up the stage. Xiao Bo. Just as the entire crowd was silent, waiting to see what mission the world mercenary group would draw, a furious howl was suddenly heard from the back. A man dressed in green old clothing stood up as he pointed at the world group's representative. I've not expected you to really go to the world mercenary group. You traitor. Lan Ling Nuo, who was by her side, also stood up and her gaze was like a torch as she looked directly at Yiqing Luo, her gaze searching one round around her. As if he did not see the person he was looking for, a trace of imperceptible disappointment appeared on his face. This gaze was naturally noticed by Yiqing Luo. She turned her head around lazily and squinted her eyes as she casted a fleeting glance at Ji Tsangtian and immediately retracted her gaze. Standing on the high platform, Xiao Bo's face darkened. He clenched his fists tightly as if he was trying his best to restrain his anger. He looked at Yiqing Luo and hung his head guiltily. Vice Group Leader, don't bother about unimportant people. Let's go and draw our mission. Yiqing Luo said calmly. Her voice was clear and melodious. It wasn't loud, but it wasn't soft either. Don't bother about unimportant people. Go and draw our mission. Ji Tsangtian flew into a rage as the veins on his face popped out. Yiqing Luo, I've long seen that you have ill intentions for getting close to our Blue Dragon mercenary group. So this is what you're planning. You poached the mercenary group which I had painstakingly nurtured. Poaching. Chapter 770. At this very moment, these mercenary groups were no longer as impatient as before. Over the years, they had been muddling around in various missions and their mental state had always been highly tensed. Today they were waiting for a random mission in the Mercenary Association to let themselves relax and rest. When they met with such a matter, the Mercenary Association's elder didn't say anything, so they just treated it as a show. Poaching, this matter to mercenary groups was a huge taboo. Mercenary groups, as the name implied, relied on mercenaries. With mercenaries, there would be mercenary groups. The minute they joined a mercenary group, the most important thing for a mercenary was to ensure their loyalty towards the mercenary group. Because mercenary groups usually fought in groups. Everyone would become brothers who would go through life and death together. After experiencing life and death, their relationship would become even more unwavering. Hence, if any mercenary group was exposed that a certain mercenary had betrayed the mercenary group and joined another mercenary group, they would definitely be reviled by the entire mercenary world. This was a kind of betrayal. When Ji Tsangtian went out of the world group to poach someone, he even openly brought him to this random mission drawing location. It could be seen that this mercenary who was poached over definitely held an important position in the world group. But no matter what position condition the world group gave him, he should not betray Blue Dragon mercenary group. Instantly, all the mercenaries frowned as their faces were filled with ridicule and disgust towards Xiao Bo. Their gazes towards Long Yunzhan and the others were filled with disdain. They looked down on people who poached other mercenary groups' mercenaries from the bottom of their hearts. Yen Zhan and Big Beardy, who were standing by the side waiting to draw a random mission, exchanged glances as they saw the joy in each other's eyes. Even Heavens was helping them. They had not expected the World Group to poach a mercenary from Blue Dragon Mercenary Group. Poaching was a huge taboo in a mercenary group. They could almost imagine the scene of the World Group being condemned by everyone. Perhaps they didn't even need to make a move. The World Group would be completely destroyed. Zhao Bo stood by the side of the crystal screen, and as a cultivator, how could he not hear the discussions of those mercenaries below the stage, and how could he not feel those mercenaries' gazes? These, when he decided to leave Blue Dragon Group, he had already thought of such a situation. He didn't care. But these people were not only ridiculing him. There was also the World Group. To him, the World Group was his second home and also the last home that he had decided to settle on. If because of him, this family would be implicated, his conscience would never be at peace for the rest of his life. Zhao Bo looked at the crystal screen in front of him and suddenly became timid. He couldn't draw this random mission. He could not implicate the World Group. Clenching his fists tightly, Zhao Bo was about to turn around and leave the stage to explain everything to Yi Qing Luo. However, an extremely lazy female voice entered his ears. Zhao Bo, hurry up. Commander Yen and Executive Commander Shen are still waiting for you. Zhao Bo's expression turned ugly. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something. But when he met Yi Qing Luo's half-squinted eyes, his body suddenly stiffened. Following that, Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up slightly, revealing an extremely gentle smile. That smile, like the warm sunlight, poured into his heart. Inexplicably, his body seemed to be filled with power. Zhao Bo's tightly clenched fists loosened one by one. The expression on his face had also regained his confidence and calmness. Raising his hand, he printed his member's badge and number tag on it. A scroll suddenly popped out and landed steadily in Zhao Bo's hands. Chapter 771. Low Grade, Experience Mission, 5 points of Mercenary Group Credit Points. Yen Zhan and Bearded Man were dumbstruck. It was actually a low-grade experience mission. 5 points of credit points, even if it was double the reward, it was only 10 points. What kind of luck did the World Group have? They had drawn the lowest and easiest mission. Earlier they had gone through a challenge competition with the World Group. Unless they had also drawn a low-grade experience mission. Otherwise they would not be able to win at all. Even if Shangguan Liuli sent someone to create trouble, this kind of simple mission could be settled in minutes. The two mercenary groups were in a complete mess. The other mercenary groups were sighing endlessly. The World Group's luck was just a little too good. Zhao Bo took the scroll and was about to leave when he heard Yi Qing Luo saying, "Zhao Bo, give up this mission." What? Zhao Bo was stunned. Give up this low-grade experience mission? Hadn't group leader already accepted this challenge? If they were to give up, wouldn't they be giving up the chance to win for sure? And to spend 100 points of mercenary group credit points. Not only was Zhao Bo unable to believe it, the others were also unable to believe that Yi Qing Luo would actually give up a sure win mission. Didn't they want to win the challenge against the two mercenary groups? Or because their poaching had been discovered and they were worried that they would be bombarded by the other mercenary groups, so they intentionally gave up the chance to win for sure, to divert their attention. Yen Zhan was in even more disbelief. A sure win chance, why would the World Group give up on it? What on earth were they planning? In case someone finds an excuse to say that we relied on luck to win. Yi Qing Luo brushed her fine black hair as she slowly stood up. That devastatingly beautiful face was filled with a sneer of ridicule. Our the World Group not only have absolute luck, we also have absolute ability. Her sonorous and forceful voice, word by word, was like an oath as it struck everyone's heart. Xiao Bo's blood was boiling as his eyes were filled with determination and faith. A decision was formlessly formed in his heart. All right. He passed the scroll to the elder, the world group. Give up this random mission and request to use the second chance. Random mission activities indeed had the rule of giving up in second chance. The elder nodded. Just as Xiao Bo was about to draw for the second time, Yiqing Luo propped her chin with her fingertips as she raised her brows and smiled. We've already drawn once, let's let Captain Yen and Executive Captain Shen draw first. Xiao Bo retreated to the side to make room. There was no need to doubt the randomness of the Mercenary Union's random mission screen. Yen Zhan wasn't afraid that Yiqing Luo would play some tricks on the mission. He walked directly to the side of the screen. Before he drew, he seemed to have thought of something. For the sake of fairness between the three mercenary groups, we will add one more request. Speak. Just as you said, mercenary groups have absolute luck and absolute strength. I agree with this statement. The corners of Yen Zhan's lips curled up. Therefore, our challenge this time is not just a competition to see who completes the mission first. We are also competing to see who gets the most generous rewards during the mission. This was truly a test of a mercenary group's luck and strength. To be honest, Yen Zhan's request was too much. Yen Zhan and Big Beard had obviously joined forces. Big Beardy was the executive leader of the Silver Blood Demon Group. The chances of getting a high-level mission from a Silver Blood Demon Group was much higher than the two Bronze Blood Demon Groups. Naturally, the rewards were the most generous. Moreover speaking, Yen Zhan had 2 chances to draw a random mission. Big Beardy also had 2 chances. Whereas for Xiao Bo, he was left with one last chance. Chapter 772. It was obvious that the 2 mercenary groups had teamed up to bully the world group. But Melon Eater mercenary group's crowd expressed that if it wasn't for the world group poaching, they would definitely speak up for the world group. But the matter of the world group poaching made them develop a sense of disgust towards the world group. At this moment, naturally no mercenary group would stand out to speak up for the world group. On the contrary, they couldn't wait for the world group to lose to the other 2 mercenary groups. Xiao Bo's brows creased tightly as his voice was filled with anger. Captain Yen, your request is too harsh. Harsh. Yen Zhan shrugged his shoulders innocently. I'm merely targeting the logic in Miss Ye's words and raising out my request. How is it harsh? Pausing for a moment, his smile became even gentler. You feel that my request is harsh, which means you're denying the logic in Miss Ye's words. You. Xiao Bo's face flushed red, but he had no way to rebuke him. Seeing Xiao Bo being deflated till he couldn't say a single word. Ji Zhangtian, who was acting as a shit-stirrer, laughed coldly as he shouted at the top of his voice, Xiao Bo, you traitor who betrayed the Blue Dragon Group, still not going to scram off the stage. What rights do you have to stand on the stage? Xiao Bo's muscles tensed up. It wasn't because of Ji Zhangtian's insults, nor was it because of Yen Zhan's shamelessness. But because of him, he had embarrassed the world group. He felt that he had let the world group down. A light laugh rang in this atmosphere, as it was exceptionally clear. Everyone's gazes followed the direction of the laughter. Captain Yen is indeed an obedient dog, listening to whatever its master says, so obedient. Yiqing Luo's smile was coquettish as her figure swayed slightly and she had already leapt onto the stage, standing beside Xiao Bo. Her fair little hand directly placed on Xiao Bo's shoulder. Xiao Bo, no matter which mercenary group you were in previously, who you followed, or what happened to you. But now, you only need to remember one thing, you're a member of the world group, my brother. Melon Eater mercenary group exploded. There was no one else who dared to openly poach people from the world group. There was only one group, and no one else. Since Captain Yen is so obedient, as the master, if I don't agree to it, wouldn't it seem too unreasonable? Yiqing Luo finished her words and turned her head over, as she looked at Yan Zhan with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Yan Zhan's entire face turned green and red from Yiqing Luo's continuous calls of dog, dog. What the f***ck are you talking about? Who are you calling? How could Big Beard tolerate it? Someone insulted his friend in front of him. He immediately flew into a rage as he raised his fist and charged towards Yiqing Luo. Yan Zhan stopped Big Beardy. Yan Zhan was not a broad-minded person. To be more precise, he was a narrow-minded person. Being teased by Yiqing Luo in this manner, Yan Zhan's hatred and disgust towards Yiqing Luo grew even thicker. But on seeing that Yiqing Luo had agreed to his request, he temporarily suppressed his anger. Now that they had allowed Big Beard to lay his hands on Yiqing Luo in public, even if they had taught Yiqing Luo a lesson, Big Beard would still be punished and it might possibly affect the reputation of the Invincible Battle Group. Invincibility was equivalent to Yan Zhan's face. How could Yan Zhan bear to let his face be tainted with dirty traces? Anyway, Yiqing Luo couldn't escape. The world group couldn't escape. Go and draw a mission. Yan Zhan finally managed to stop Big Beardy's rampage, as he speedily pushed him to draw a random mission. Big Beardy blew his beard as his eyes widened, as he heavily puffed out a gust of cold air from his nostrils, as he walked directly to the crystal screen, as he rudely printed his badge and number tag on it. A scroll bounced out, as it landed in his palm. On the screen, the flowing water outlined the words, as it was faintly discernible. Chapter 773. A High Rare Quest. 80 honor points, double that meant 160 honor points. This could be considered a high-level reward for a high-level mission. Generally speaking, even if it was a rare advanced quest, the reward would at most be 50 to 60 honor points. It would be difficult to get more than 70 honor points. Not to mention the 80 honor points. Of course, the high-grade rare mission which Yiqing Luo had snatched from Yuchipeng last month could not be compared to this. At that time Mo Han Shang also said that this mission, no matter what, should be classified as a complicated grade mission. As the young master, Mo Han's Hang had yet to ascend to the position after all. Towards the internal affairs of the Mercenary Association, it wasn't easy for him to investigate thoroughly, and he only briefly mentioned it to the elders once. In the end, they only found out that the staff member in charge of sorting the mission levels was a newcomer, so there was a mistake. The elder had already punished the staff member. Because there was no major mistake, the matter was left unsettled. Therefore, under normal circumstances, the reward for a real high-grade rare mission would at most be 60 to 70 honor points. The better ones would be 80 to 90 honor points. The Melon Eater mercenary group was stunned. Oh my god! The luck of the Blood Demon group was too heaven-defying. This kind of reward, even if Yiqing Luo's luck was heaven-defying, to draw the Bronze Plate Mercenary Group's top-grade rare mission, there was absolutely no such high honor value reward. Moreover, just based on these young men and women in the World Group, even if they were to defy the heavens and draw a high-grade rare mission, they wouldn't be able to complete it. There's no need to compete, the World Group is bound to lose. There's no suspense at all, this is boring. Hurry up and draw a quest. Stop wasting everyone's time. The members of the Melon Eater mercenary group also lost their original expectations and interest in something that they could completely guess the outcome of. Yan Zhan smiled. His laughter was filled with pride. That pair of seemingly gentle eyebrows overflowed with an air of superiority. He was so confident that even his footsteps were like the wind. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that his request to compete for the mission rewards was too smart. This time, it was a sure win. Yan Zhan did not feel any burden in his heart. He casually printed his number plate and the regiment commander's medal on it. The smile on his face froze the moment the mission scroll popped out. On the screen, it was printed with the same handwriting as the random mission that Zhao Bo had just drawn. Low-level, training mission, 5 mercenary group honor points. The Melon Eater mercenary group was in an uproar. Yiqing Luo sneered as her lips curled into a cold arc of ridicule. Now. Yan Zhan was probably regretting it so much that his intestines had turned green. Indeed, Yan Zhan had the urge to slap himself to death. He actually drew such a low-level mission. If he hadn't made that smart request just now, he would have been the one to win for sure. He had absolute confidence that he could complete this low-grade learning mission before Yiqing Luo. Just by looking at the 5 honor points, he knew that it was only enough to kill an ordinary tiger or leopard at most. He could casually send someone, and the saber would rise and fall in less than half an incense stick's time. Rather than letting the Blood Demon group win this challenge, Yan Zhan naturally hoped that his team would win. This was an honor. However, Yan Zhan could not accept this mission. The reward was only part of the reason. More importantly, Yiqing Luo had just given up on the same mission, and that was before he had even requested for the reward. If he accepted this mission now, wasn't it like slapping himself on the face and getting slapped by Yiqing Luo? Chapter 774. So, this low-leveled mission, I choose to give up too. Yan Zhan said it in a dignified manner, putting on a look as though he was cooperating with Yiqing Luo. The other mercenary groups understood the deeper meaning in his words, but they didn't point it out. After Yan Zhan gave up on this mission, he directly used the second chance to draw another mission. Perhaps because he had given up on the low-leveled mission, the Mercenary Association deducted 100 points of mercenary group's honor points, which helped Yan Zhan accumulate his luck. The second round of drawing, Yan Zhan's luck was off the charts as he drew the exact same high-leveled mission as the bearded man. Looking at the top of the screen, the flowing water outlined the words high-leveled rare mission. Yan Zhan almost screamed out in joy. His heartache over his 100 points of honor points instantly vanished into thin air. High-leveled, rare mission, 50 points of mercenary group honor points. Although it wasn't as bountiful as the Blood Demon mercenary group's reward, but among the high-leveled rare missions, this reward was considered as medium. Yan Zhan took the scroll and returned to the bearded man's side as his face was filled with unconcealable ecstasy. Over the years, the bronze plate mercenary groups who were able to draw the extremely low probability of a high-leveled rare mission was not more than 100 groups. Vice Group Leader. Zhao Bo's expression turned extremely ugly. Under this kind of situation, the World Group had no chance of winning at all. Even if they also drew a high-leveled rare mission and completed it before Invincible and Blood Demon Group, but their reward was absolutely not comparable to Blood Demon Group, so they would still lose. If they lost, who knew how these two mercenary groups would arrange the World Group? The World Group would probably become a joke in the mercenary world, completely destroyed. But Yiqing Luo's expression didn't change at all, as though everything was within her control. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into an enchanting smile as her eyes were long and narrow, as she shot a glance at the two men whose faces were filled with ecstasy, suppressing her voice as she laughed softly. The higher the reward, the higher the danger of the mission. Did they really think that 80 points of mercenary group honor points was so easy to get? Moreover, the time limit for taking part in the random mission was only 3 days. Blood Demon Group was a silver plate mercenary group and their ability was displayed there. For high-leveled rare missions, if they spent some time and energy, and threw in some manpower and financial resources, there was a possibility of completing it. But unfortunately, Blood Demon Group took part in the challenge against the World Group and even offered to send 98 mercenary group to take part in the mission. 3 days, 98 mercenary group. Could he really complete this advanced rare mission with a heaven-defying reward? Looking at Yan Zhan's invincible mercenary group, It had already been 3 to 5 years, but it was still a bronze mercenary group. It could be seen that the overall strength of Yan Zhan's mercenary group was average. Yan Zhan's eloquence was the main reason he was able to make it this far. A high-rank rare quest. Even if he managed to draw it, he would still need to have the ability to complete it. When Zhao Bo heard this, he nodded in realization. Yes. When he was in Blue Dragon mercenary group, Zhao Bo had some understanding of similar mercenary groups. It was impossible for Yan Zhan's team to handle high-level rare missions. Even if he drew a rare advanced quest, he wouldn't be able to complete it, let alone get the reward. Especially when Yan Zhan boasted shamelessly that only 98 mercenary groups would challenge them. Sadly, Yan Zhan was still complacent and was completely unaware of it. Miss Yi, it's your turn. Yan Zhan beamed as he looked at Yiqing Luo. I hope Miss Yi will always be that lucky. Yiqing Luo didn't say a word as she walked directly to the crystal screen, and according to the procedure, she drew the mission. This was the World Group's last chance to draw a random mission. Chapter 775. Vice Group Leader's badge and number plate were imprinted on the crystal screen. Yiqing Luo only felt a stream of water flowing past her palm as a cool sensation assaulted her. Instantly, the entire screen shook. Following that, on the screen, those streams of water flowed extremely swiftly. This was the first time the bunch of Melon Eater mercenary group crowd had seen this and were extremely astonished. The elder by the side was also stunned as he hurriedly walked up as he stared at the crystal screen without blinking. Even the two elders who were seated by the side also stood up one after another as they rushed towards the screen. Yiqing Luo's hair stood up from the crowd's gazes. She wanted to retract her hand and wait for the mission scroll. But before her hand could move, she heard the elder berating her agitatedly, "Don't move. Don't move." Yiqing Luo's hand froze on the screen. The three elders' gazes were like a bunch of monkeys as they stared deeply at the flowing water on the screen as their eyes shone brightly. What on earth was going on? The strange phenomenon on the screen and the elders' expressions made the Melon Eater mercenary group crowd below reveal a puzzled expression. Most of it was because of the shock which Yiqing Luo gave them. After taking part in so many random missions, this was the first time they had seen this. Such a situation appeared on the crystal screen. This was absolutely not the crystal screen's problem. But it was because of that lass. Just as the crowd were looking at each other in dismay, waiting for the elders to see the reason and resolve the doubts in their hearts, the flowing water on the crystal screen suddenly stopped as though it had stopped. A mission scroll popped out from the middle of the screen. Yiqing Luo caught it. The mission scroll had finally appeared. What kind of mission was it, to actually cause that kind of phenomenon earlier? Everyone held their breaths as they stared at the screen, waiting for the mission's grade to appear. But the moment the mission scroll popped out, the water continued to flow and gradually, it outlined 3 symbols. 3. The Melon Eater mercenary group crowd looked at each other in dismay. What's with the 3 question marks? What does this mean? What mission did the world group draw? Why are there 3 question marks? Could it be that the random mission artifact is spoiled? Elder, what on earth is going on? We're still in a rush to complete the mission. The mercenary group below was in chaos. The 3 elders on the stage were flabbergasted as their gazes moved back and forth between the mission scroll in Yiqing Luo's hands and the crystal screen. After a while, the mercenaries slowly came back to their senses. Cough cough. All right, everyone, stop arguing. One of the elders raised his hand and gestured for everyone to be quiet. Another elder stroked his white beard as a delighted smile appeared on the corner of his lips. The mission that the World Group's Vice Group leader drew wasn't because this random screen was faulty, but because the mission that the World Group's Vice Group leader drew was a random mission among the random. This so-called random of random means that this mission is a random mission that surpasses the mercenary group's level. It could be a low-level training mission, or it could be a complex or legendary rare mission. In any case, the opening of this scroll is completely random, and anything is possible. The elder's explanation made the mercenaries gasp in astonishment. The most random of random quests. Should they say that the world group's luck was good, or should they say that the mission that the world group had drawn added a shred of mystery to this challenge which they had already won for sure? Of course, these mercenary groups' crowd had basically given the world group a death sentence. No matter what mission the world group drew from this random scroll, they probably wouldn't be a match for the blood demon group. Chapter 776. Yan Zhan and Big Beard obviously thought so too. Hence when he saw Yi Qing Luo passing the scroll to Zhao Bo, there wasn't a single trace of fear or panic on his face. The four of them got off the platform and returned to their seats. All the mercenary groups that participated in the random mission activities have received their mission scrolls, right? The elder's dignified gaze swept across the people below, and his voice was steady and loud. Yes. The mercenary group responded in unison, raising the mission scroll in their hands. The elder nodded. The process of this random mission was a small interlude suggested by the invincible mercenary group. This elder will represent the mercenary guild as a witness, and will make the most impartial judgment for the result of the invincible mercenary group and the blood demon mercenary group challenging the world mercenary group. The mercenaries were confused. They all knew that the Mercenary Association's young master Mo Hans Hang had joined the world group. Logically speaking, in order to maintain the reputation of the Mercenary Union, the Mercenary Union would never allow this challenge to stand. If the world group lost, the public opinion would then shift from the world group to Mo Han Shang and eventually implicate the Mercenary Association. But the truth was, when Yan Zhan issued the challenge, the elder did not stop him at all. Instead, he maintained an approving attitude. In the end, he even acted as a witness for this challenge. Could it be, they had so much confidence in Mo Han Shang and the world group? On behalf of the Mercenary Union, I would like to apologize for wasting so much of your time. Now, I, the elder, officially announced the start of the random mission. As soon as he finished speaking, thunderous applause resounded throughout the hall. At the same time when the applause stopped, an enraged voice rang, "Elder, my Blue Dragon mercenary group is applying to the Mercenary Guild to cancel the World Mercenary Group's establishment rights." Ji Tsang Tian stood up from the crowd as his face was filled with anger. The mercenary groups that were about to leave immediately stopped in their tracks. There was indeed such a rule in the Mercenary Guild's rules. If a mercenary group caught another mercenary group violating the rules of the Mercenary Union and provided evidence, they would have the right to apply to the Mercenary Union to cancel the qualifications of the other mercenary group. However, in the past few decades, there had never been a case of other mercenary groups being disqualified. Everyone's gazes congealed towards Ji Tsang Tian. The elder on the stage frowned slightly. The world group's vice group leader Yi Qing Luo, 1 month ago in the Magic Beast Forest, snatched our group's mission item and even insulted us. In the end, we even lured out an even higher level Earth Mirage Beast, killing 44 of our brothers. When Ji Tsang Tian spoke, he seemed to be gritting his teeth as every single word came out from the slits of his teeth. Hidden in each word was a huge burden and anger. Hearing Ji Tsang Tian's accusation, the other mercenary group's group leaders or mercenaries' faces instantly turned black as the gazes they shot towards Yi Qing Luo and the others turned even colder. Stealing mission items was a taboo in the mercenary world. Hearing this, Zhao Bo clenched his fists tightly, the expression on his face constantly changing. His initial astonishment turned into disbelief, and in the end, he seemed to have been bitterly disappointed. Zhao Bo's eyes widened. The shame and anger that he had been suppressing in his chest made Zhao Bo restless. He was blind back then, which was why he entered the Blue Dragon mercenary group, treating Ji Tsang Tian as his benefactor and brother. How could Ji Tsang Tian turn black into white? Xiao Bo couldn't take it anymore. He took a step forward and was about to speak. His wrist was grasped by a fair and slender finger. Xiao Bo looked back. Chapter 777. Ji Tsang Tian saw Xiao Bo taking a step forward and was just about to use the words which he had prepared to attack Xiao Bo. But he saw Xiao Bo suddenly retreating, not saying a single word. His expression suddenly turned extremely ugly. This was as though he had held in all his energy but the feeling of letting out a fart. In the eyes of the other mercenary groups, this action of standing out and retreating was indirectly tacitly agreeing to Ji Tsang Tian's words. Because the world group had no way to rebuke him. Seeing the other mercenary groups looking at the world group in disdain, Lan Ling Nuo used a sobbing tone as she choked, 44 lives. 44 lives ah. The world group's mercenaries, at such a young age, already disregarding human lives like grass, in future. She stopped there and didn't continue speaking. But how could the other mercenary groups not hear the meaning in Lan Ling Nuo's words? Now they were already so arrogant, disregarding human lives. If these young men and young ladies were to grow up and the world group developed, wouldn't they massacre the entire mercenary association? After going through so much hardship and with the help of our brothers, we finally killed that mirage beast. But these people from the world group took the opportunity when we were exhausted from the fierce battle with the mirage beast to forcefully take over the mirage beast which we had killed. The last sentence was said by the more furious he got, as his face was filled with anger as it kept leaking outwards. One had to admit that Ji Tsang Tian had arranged this story extremely well. Every single word and sentence was able to strike the other mercenary groups' hearts. As mercenary groups, what they hated the most was other mercenary groups taking advantage of when they were the most exhausted to forcefully take over their spoils of war. As compared to Ji Tsang Tian, who said that Yiqing Luo was poaching, forcefully taking over the mission item was even more infuriating. As long as they stirred up these mercenary groups' emotions, they would be able to easily pull these mercenary groups into their own camp. That mirage beast was exchanged with my group's brother's blood, but it was so easily snatched away by the world group. I originally wanted to forget about this matter. After all, you are a newly established mercenary group and a bunch of young men and young ladies. Our Celestial Phoenix Academy had always taught us to let people off whenever possible. Since the item had already been snatched away by you, at most we'll just take a detour when we meet you in future. But I really didn't expect that. You actually poached my team's capable general. The more he spoke, the angrier he became. His eyes widened and his veins bulged. Ever since the day Blue Dragon Mercenary Group was established, Xiao Bo and his gang had always been following me, our 5 years of relationship. 5 years of love. Now he was poached by the world group. Ji Tsang Tian clenched his fists tightly as he stared straight at the elder. Today, no matter what, I will seek an explanation for the Blue Dragon Mercenary Group's brothers and for those 44 brothers who died. The whole place was silent. After a while, the crowd began to clamor. Elder. Such a heartless, unjust, and vicious mercenary group must be eliminated as soon as possible. To be so vicious at such a young age. Such a bandit. Today, he actually had the face to lead the traitor he had poached and openly participate in a random mission. How shameless. We will jointly apply to the Mercenary Association to cancel the World Mercenary Group's establishment rights. Countless mercenary groups expressed their dissatisfaction and anger. Ji Tsang Tian looked at everyone standing on his side as his eyes were filled with a delighted smile. The corners of his lips couldn't help but curled into an arc. Luckily Lan Ling Nuo discovered it in time as she pinched his arm fiercely. Chapter 778. Everyone was pointing fingers at them and the entire place was filled with ridicule. If it was an ordinary mercenary group, they would definitely not be able to take on this kind of pressure. However, under the crowd's curses, the world group's 6 people remained calm as they sat lazily on their own seats. Only Xiao Bo stood beside Yi Qing Luo as his fists clenched tightly. His face was filled with unconcealable rage as he stared deadly at Ji Tsangtian with sparks flickering in his eyes. His calm demeanor infuriated the mercenary groups. A few tyrannical group leaders directly raised their fists as they charged over, a bunch of little brats. You're about to die and you still don't know how to repent, let me teach you a good lesson. With one person taking the lead, the other mercenary groups also charged up. How dare you create trouble in the mercenary association? Mo Han Shang stood up abruptly as his delicate features were filled with dignity as he shouted out sharply. He stood upright as his gaze was like a torch as he coldly swept a few glances at those group leaders. This young patriarch wants to see how you're going to teach us a lesson. Those mercenary group leaders who were filled with righteous indignation stopped in their tracks. They felt injustice for Ji Tsangtian, but it was impossible for them to ruin their own futures. Young Patriarch Mo. Ji Tsangtian's brows creased. As the Mercenary Association's young patriarch, you'll bring shame to the Mercenary Association if you're together with this kind of notorious mercenary group. Mo Han Shang scoffed coldly as the disdain and cold ridicule in his eyes grew thicker. Blue Dragon Group leader must have forgotten that you mentioned, forcefully taking over the mission item, forcefully taking over the Mirage Beast. This young patriarch is all present. The minute he said that, the entire Mercenary Association instantly fell into silence. The Mercenary Association's young patriarch was all present. The underlying meaning was that Mo Han Shang was also involved in forcefully taking over the mission item, forcefully taking over the spoils of war. Or did he have other intentions? Mo Han Shang shot a disdainful glance at Ji Tsangtian as he placed his hands behind his back and sneered, since you finished weaving the story, then listen to what I have to say next. Let me say it. Xiao Bo, who was standing by the side, had his muscles tensed up. He gritted his teeth fiercely as he made a difficult decision. I've been friends with Ji Tsangtian for 5 years and I've established the Blue Dragon Mercenary Group for close to 4 years. Today, it's indeed time to settle this. Originally, Xiao Bo wasn't willing to mention about Ji Tsangtian's matters. What was in the past was in the past. Just take it as him preserving the last bit of face for Ji Tsangtian, preserving the beautiful memories of him and Ji Tsangtian supporting each other. But, with Ji Tsangtian's overbearing manner, if he still didn't stand out and didn't speak up for the world group. Because of him, the world group would be branded as robbers and poaching by Ji Tsangtian. Xiao Bo. Ji Tsangtian abruptly stood up as a fluster flashed past his eyes. After knowing each other for 5 years, Ji Tsangtian had more or less grasped Xiao Bo's character. Although Xiao Bo had become a mercenary of the world group, he would not return to the Blue Dragon Mercenary Group. But at this critical moment, Xiao Bo, who valued loyalty the most, would not expose him for the sake of their past friendship. Ji Tsangtian had not expected Xiao Bo to actually stand out, apparently wanting to tell them everything. The elder sharply realized that when Xiao Bo spoke up for the world group, Ji Tsangtian was obviously feeling guilty. He immediately understood something. How could the mercenary group that their young master joined be such a heinous mercenary group? They were clearer than anyone else about their young master's foresight. With a chance to whitewash their young master's name openly, the elder waved his sleeves. Speak. If there's any lie, this elder will punish you severely. Chapter 779. Ji Tsangtian forcefully snatched the world group's mission item but was humiliated by the world group. How could Ji Tsangtian disregard his own brothers for a woman, even sacrificing his brothers' lives to open up a path for him and Lan Ling Nuo? How did Ji Tsung Tian hide in the world group's enchantment after the high-leveled mirage beasts appeared, not willing to help to deal with the high-leveled mirage beasts and even kept on insulting them? And so on and so forth. He used the simplest words to explain everything. As for the reason why I left Blue Dragon Mercenary Group. At this point, Xiao Bo's voice started to tremble as though he had recalled a painful scene. No one would have thought that 5 years of love would be no match for a woman's pillow talk. Because of Xiao Bo and the others' rudeness in the magical beast forest, Lan Ling Nua developed a sense of disgust. After Lan Ling Nua woke up, she persuaded Ji Tsung Tian, confirming that they had the intention to betray Blue Dragon Group. Initially Ji Tsung Tian didn't believe it, but after all they had been brothers for many years, so he naturally understood him. But Lan Ling Nua used the excuse of, since he saw her body then he should be responsible for her, to start a cold war. Ji Tsung Tian could only follow Lan Ling Nua's intentions in order to gain the beauty's favor. Xiao Bo and more than 30 others were locked up. Lan Ling Nua took the opportunity to announce to the public that these 30 over people wanted to betray the Blue Dragon Mercenary Group and had the intention to rebel. Over time, Ji Tsung Tian also felt that Xiao Bo wanted to betray him. Xiao Bo and his brothers were naturally furious. They had sacrificed their lives for the Tsung Dragon Group, yet they ended up like this and even had to bear a bad name. How could these people, who valued loyalty so much, tolerate this? Naturally they would think of ways to escape, to look for Ji Tsung Tian for an explanation. He had not expected this kind of action to make Ji Tsung Tian believe in Lan Ling Nua's words even more, as he immediately killed the few brothers. Both sides fell out completely. Xiao Bo escaped from the Tsung Dragon Corps with the remaining 23 of his brothers. With no other choice, he thought of the world group. You don't even trust the brother who has been with you for 5 years, and you choose to trust a woman who spreads lies to deceive people. In order to make that woman happy, you killed your own brother without any hesitation. You were ruthless and didn't show any mercy. He. Xiao Bo let out a bitter sneer. He did not want to recall this scene. They didn't want to believe that Ji Tsung Tian had really chopped off the head of his brother who had gone through thick and thin together, going through thick and thin together, for Lan Ling Nua. He still remembered clearly that Ji Tsung Tian stepped on his brother's head, his long sword pointing straight at his face, and the murderous intent in his eyes was so intense. When the truth was revealed, it made all the mercenary groups present stared at Ji Tsung Tian in disbelief. He had not expected Ji Tsung Tian to be such a deranged person. He was willing to kill his own brother for a woman. Everyone looked at Lan Ling Nua again. If Yi Qing Luo wasn't around, Lan Ling Nua could indeed be considered as an exceptional beauty. But after Yi Qing Luo's comparison, especially after listening to Xiao Bo's description, everyone's impression of Lan Ling Nua was only left with a femme fatale and bewitching image. Ji Tsung Tian fell onto the chair in terror as he opened his mouth to refute. No, I didn't. It's him, it's the world group who intentionally tried to defame me. However, even he himself had no confidence in his rebuttal. How could he convince others? Lan Ling Nua had always been a high and mighty princess who was the center of attention. No matter where she went, she would always enjoy envious gazes. Today she followed Ji Tsung Tian to the Mercenary Association, just to enjoy the treatment of a mercenary group's madam, to make others envious. She had not expected that the situation had developed into such a situation. Everyone's gaze towards her was filled with disdain and disgust. Chapter 780. Ji Tsung Tian's face was ashen as he stood there in a daze. Yes, he was certain that Xiao Bo would not betray him. He was certain that even if he killed Xiao Bo would absolutely not divulge anything which was disadvantageous to him. He was certain that Xiao Bo's departure wasn't because he wanted to betray him. Xiao Bo was just disappointed in him. Because of this, when that person looked for him, Ji Tsang Tian agreed to that person's deal straightforwardly. But all his certainty, at this moment, seemed extremely laughable. He had not expected that after Zhao Bo left Blue Dragon Mercenary Group, he went to the World Group. He had not expected that in just half a month's time, Zhao Bo was completely bought over by the World Group, completely betraying him. Ji Tsang Tian clenched his fists tightly as his venomous gaze stared fiercely at that enchanting lady who was still smiling in a relaxed manner. All of you are spouting nonsense. Zhao Bo, I've treated you well. We've been friends for 5 years and you can't even compare to a Yiqing Luo. Ji Tsang Tian struggled on his deathbed. He wanted to awaken Zhao Bo's conscience, awaken Zhao Bo's loyalty towards him. But when his pleading gaze met with Zhao Bo's eyes, all he saw was a piece of despair, like a lamp being extinguished. Zhao Bo's eyes had no spirit at all. It was as if all of his life had dried up along with him. This kind of drying up, Ji Tsang Tian understood it clearly. That was Zhao Bo mourning the death of their 5 years of friendship. I believe everyone present here knows very clearly what the truth is. Yiqing Luo's cold voice was mixed with a bewitching smile. She half squinted her eyes as her lips curled upwards, making her look even more enchanting. The 3 elders pointed furiously at Ji Tsang Tian as their voices were loud and clear. What a great Blue Dragon mercenary group, treating all of us as fools. You even dare to lie to this elder. Guards! Bring this Ji Tsang Tian, who is spouting nonsense, down to this elder. From today onwards, Blue Dragon Mercenary Group's rights to establish a mercenary group will be revoked. Ji and Lan family will forever be blacklisted by the Mercenary Association headquarters. The 3 elders' consecutive words caused a huge uproar at the scene. When the 3rd elder mentioned about Ji family and Lan family, Ji Tsang Tian's expression instantly turned steely green. He stood up abruptly, his eyes filled with horror. No. Impossible. That's not what he said. That's not the result. He said that after today, I will become a silver mercenary group. You can't do this to me. Ji Tsang Tian's mutterings made Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly narrow. Her figure swayed slightly and that petite figure of hers had already closed in on Ji Tsang Tian. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes were eerie as she frowned and stared at him coldly. Him? Who is it? Yiqing Luo. Are you in cahoots with him to intentionally mess with me? This was the only reason Ji Tsang Tian could think of. If it wasn't for Yiqing Luo, if it wasn't for that person who used to upgrade to a silver plate mercenary group as a lure, how could he have fallen to such a state? You're still playing dumb. You're obviously following that person on purpose, deliberately making me. He didn't finish his words. Suddenly, a powerful profound energy rushed over from afar. That profound chi was like a sharp blade, directly stabbing towards Ji Tsang Tian's back, from the direction of his heart. This profound energy. Why did it have a kind of déjà vu feeling? However, the profound energy's momentum was extremely fast, not allowing Yiqing Luo to think too much. Yiqing Luo avoided it ingeniously as her body was like a black butterfly spreading its wings, speedily retreating. At the same time, Ji Tsang Tian's reaction was swift. At the same time he turned around, he pushed Lan Lingnua to one side. His other hand swiftly pulled the member who was sitting by the side, placing him horizontally in front of him. Chapter 781. Shrill screams resounded throughout the mercenary union. Fresh blood gushed out from that member's chest. That profound energy directly pierced through the group member's chest. Fresh blood splattered all over Ji Tsang Tian. Ji Tsang Tian casually threw the group member out as he bent over to pull Lan Lingnua into his arms. He immediately released his profound chi and with a tap of his toes, he had already turned into lightning as he sprinted towards the Mercenary Association's outer area. Before he left, he even turned his head and gave Yiqing Luo a hateful stare. His eyes were filled with hatred and resentment. Chase them. How dare you kill someone in the mercenary guild? The elder immediately called out to the guards as they chased after Ji Tsangtian. For a moment, the entire mercenary guild fell into a strange atmosphere. No one had expected that someone would kill someone in the mercenary guild, and at this time. There were at least 100 high-level profound practitioners present. Wasn't the murderer afraid of being caught? However, it was also because of the appearance of this murderer that made all the mercenary groups completely believe in the world group's innocence. In order to survive, he did not hesitate to use his own brother to block in front of him. Even when they were escaping, they had to bring Lan Ling Nuo along with them. This kind of person would definitely kill his own brother for the sake of a woman. With such a person as their leader, if it were them, they would also turn around and leave without hesitation. The farce ended just like that. The guards who secretly assassinated Ji Tsangtian had searched within 100 miles but had not discovered any suspicious person. Whereas for Ji Tsangtian and Lan Ling Nuo, they seemed to have disappeared and there was no trace of them at all. The elders dismissed those mercenary groups and started to investigate Ji Tsangtian's matter. The elders did not forget to blacklist the Ji and Lan families in the mercenary union headquarters. He even issued a kill order to track down Ji Tsangtian's whereabouts. Yiqing Luo and the others walked out of the mercenary association and saw several tens of people standing not too far away, quietly waiting for them. Something happened. Mo Yuing blinked her empty eyes and said faintly, "Just now, there was killing intent. Did you see that?" Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her vision swept across the surroundings. Mo Yuing shook her head. The killing intent is too fast, and the strong power is also very fast. It was almost fleeting. She had no time to grasp the source of that powerful force. Yiqing Luo didn't harbor any hope. A person that even Mo Yuing couldn't sense, his strength was definitely beyond their imagination. Yiqing Luo's gaze trembled slightly. That person, could he be him that Ji Tsangtian mentioned? The one who used the Silver Plate mercenary group as a lure to make a deal with Ji Tsangtian. That's right. It must be him that Ji Tsangtian mentioned. Otherwise he wouldn't have so coincidentally made a move to silence Ji Tsangtian. That person's goal, it's her. This was absolutely not Yiqing Luo's narcissism or persecutory delusion. Instead, it was a strong intuition. Because the profound qi which pierced towards Ji Tsangtian was extremely familiar. But no matter how Yiqing Luo's retentive memory and shocking memory tried to recall, she was unable to recall when and where she was. He had come into contact with the owner of this profound qi. Goddess. Goddess. A woman's charming voice suddenly came from behind. Dressed in a peach-colored short skirt, Peach smiled like a flower as she waved at Yiqing Luo. She led a bunch of ladies who were as pretty as flowers and jade as she came right in front of Yiqing Luo. "Goddess, what mission have you drawn? So mysterious." Peach stared curiously at the mission scroll in Zhao Bo's hands. Among the random missions, it was the rarest random mission. Chapter 782. Yiqing Luo pinched her brows as she regained her senses. Right now, the most important thing was to find a way to complete the random mission. Yan Zhan and Big Beard should have read the mission description in the scroll by now. They were probably going to have a headache. Invincible Battle Team and Blood Demon Team's mission is really unbearable. Peach patted on Yiqing Luo's shoulder, indicating her to look towards a direction not too far away. The expressions of Yan Zhan, the bearded man, and the leader of the Blood Demon group were extremely unsightly. They seemed to be discussing something with the scroll in their hands. The leader of the Blood Demon group angrily swung the scroll, occasionally throwing it in Yan Zhan's direction. Then, he couldn't hold it in any longer and slammed it on Big Beardy's face. Big Beardy took the mission scroll with both hands and stood respectfully at the side, letting the leader of the blood demons reprimand him. Yen Zhan stood at the side obediently. He was as arrogant as he was on the high platform, but now he was as cowardly as he was terrified. Qiao Jin's eyes lit up. Does Miss Tao know what the mission is? Peach raised her eyebrows and smiled proudly. Of course. Don't forget what our 3000 Peach Blossom group is good at. It was a group of informants who were responsible for gathering information. There are a total of 238 mercenary groups taking part in this random mission activity. Basically, other than You're the World group's mission, which I don't know about, I roughly know about the other mercenary group's missions. Qiao Jin suddenly retracted the gold coin dart in his palm and gave a thumbs up to Tao Zi. Miss Tao is strong. I'm impressed. Peach giggled. His gaze landed on the ice-cold Yen Xiaoyi behind Qiao Jin. Her watery eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. A trace of craftiness flashed across Peach's eyes. She acted as if she did not notice Yen Xiaoyi's presence. Instead, she moved closer to Qiao Jin and revealed a charming smile. Qiao Jin, since we're all friends, there's no need to call me Miss anymore. Just call me Peach. Qiao Jin wasn't a bashful person. Since the lady had taken the initiative to say so, he naturally had to give the lady face. He immediately put on a smile and shouted, Peach. Peach beamed with delight. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she discovered that Peach's vision wasn't placed on Qiao Jin. Instead, he glanced at Yen Xiaoyi from the corner of his eyes. This girl, what was he going to do? Although Yiqing Luo had sensed that Peach might have seen through Qiao Jin's outer appearance and had taken a fancy to his inner good looks. However, it felt like it was still lacking a little. Peach stood close to Qiao Jin. She controlled the distance between her and Qiao Jin very well. He didn't cross the line on purpose, but he wasn't rude either. It was more like, it was on purpose. This thought made Yiqing Luo's heart suddenly trembled, as the gaze she shot at the Peach was filled with probing. By the side of her ear, Qiao Jin's sniggering was heard, interrupting Yiqing Luo's thoughts. He stared at Yen Zhan and Big Beard, who were arguing with each other, and snickered, Peach, what mission did they get? Peach blinked her eyes and smiled slyly. If others want to know an answer from my mouth, they must pay the same price, but, since it's you, Qiao Jin, who asked, I'll tell you for free. She crooked her finger and gestured for Qiao Jin to come closer. Qiao Jin didn't think too much about it. He laughed and lowered his head. The smile in Peach's eyes deepened. She slowly leaned over and whispered in his ear. The mission that they drew is... Chapter 783. Ha! Qiao Jin was stupefied. What did he mean by he was done for? Before he had time to ponder over the deeper meaning of these words, he felt a sharp pain at the back of his head. Paw! The sound of a palm brushing against skin rang out, extremely crisp and loud. Qiao Jin hugged his head, turning his head in a rage. Who is it? Yen Xiaoyi retracted her hand, a pure and innocent smile hanging on her face. Her bright eyes shone with an intelligent luster, but the coldness in her eyes made one shudder. Sorry, my hand slipped. Looking at the sweet smile on Yen Xiaoyi's face, all of Qiao Jin's reprimands and curses were stuck in his throat. He opened his mouth, but he didn't know what to say. Their eyes met for a long time. Just as Qiao Jin was about to open his mouth to speak, Yen Xiaoyi had already curled the corners of her mouth and turned to walk towards the exit of the mercenary association. Yen. Qiao Jin frowned and wanted to chase after him. But after taking a few steps, he stopped. His brows were tightly knitted together. He felt lost and extremely puzzled. Peach took in the changes in Xiao Jin's expression. The mischievous smile on her face deepened. The Invincible Guild's rare high-level mission is to collect 2 bamboo tubes of swamp vampire worms from the Spirit Swamp. The Spirit Illusion Swamp was mostly frequented by Silverplate mercenary groups. Only the elite mercenaries of the Silverplate mercenary group, or at least the first or second group of mercenaries, would have the confidence to complete this mission. The Spirit Illusion Swamp was most famous for the swamp blood-sucking worms. The swamp blood-sucking worm was a worm that hid in the swamp. This insect was very small. If it was alone, it wouldn't be aggressive. However, swamp blood-sucking worms usually moved in groups of more than 100. Although they were small, they were densely packed. Once a mercenary fell into the swamp, he would be instantly covered by these blood-sucking worms, and then all the blood in his body would be sucked away. It could be said that there was no mercenary that wasn't afraid of the swamp blood-sucking worms. Asking Yan Zhan's mercenary group to catch 2 bamboo tubes of swamp blood-sucking worms. He reckoned that before he could even touch the blood-sucking worms, he would be attacked by them. No wonder Yan Zhan's face was ashen, as if he had nothing to live for. If they were the ones who drew this mission, they would probably have nothing left to live for. The Blood Demon Group's rare high-level mission is to head to the Chaos Crack and kill 10 Chaos Beasts. You must also preserve their internal organs. Peach covered her mouth and laughed so hard that she couldn't stand straight. No wonder the reward is 80 honor points. This was an impossible mission. These 80 points are just for show. Yiqing Luo agreed with this sentence very much. The primal chaos slit was the crack between the 4 continents. In modern terms, it was another plane in a parallel world. That plane was in a state of chaos. This is an extremely dangerous place. The beasts in the primal chaos realm were much more ferocious than those in the nirvana realm. If ordinary people entered the primal chaos realm, they would be affected by the primal chaos. Not to mention killing a beast of chaos and preserving its internal organs. This task was too difficult for the Blood Demon Mercenary Corps. One was the Spirit Illusion Swamp, one was the Primal Chaos Realm. His luck was simply unparalleled. No matter how high their rewards were, they could only watch helplessly as the rewards passed them by. Of course, there was another way. Although the Blood Demon Group and Ever Victorious Group had agreed beforehand that they would only send out 98 people to challenge the World Group. But during the process of the challenge, the Mercenary Association wouldn't continue to monitor the process of the mission. Yan Zhan could totally let all the members move together. There was a better way, and that was. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.